What's up, Rewatchers? It's Dustin here to let you know that this show may feature strong or inappropriate language, so please be mindful of who around you can hear it. Also, we assume that you've at least watched the show or the episode we will be discussing. If not, just be warned that there are spoilers ahead. But really, it's your fault because these shows have been out for a while. Enjoy.
I did watch or rewatch some of your rewatch recap on the latest Ghostwriter stuff just so I could get in the mood.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm glad. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I love that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rewatch Recap. I am Dustin, and this is the show where we, revisit shows. This is not a normal episode. This is actually kind of a nostalgic episode where I'm going to be talking about one of the best shows of all time, Ghostwriter from 1992. I love this show. I grew up with the show. I had a Ghostwriter pen. I had a casebook. I recorded all the episodes on VHS, lost those, but I really dug this show. I mean, I'll go into more stuff as we go along, but I don't want to talk too much about that. I want to introduce our guest. The guest is Tim from Rally J Designs on Etsy. I've mentioned him before.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Tim?
Hey, Dustin. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on. This is fun.
It is. I mean, I'm so excited to meet you because I bought a few things from your shop before, and I love every one of them. I have this new shirt now. I'm going to stand up and show you.
Yay. Oh, that looks so good.
I know. I love it. I love it. It's so great. I love how cartoony they are. It's great. I love caricature type things like that. It's,
Thanks. I took a bit of a nod from some of the illustrations in the books, but yeah.
Yeah, why not? Well, today we're talking all things Ghostwriter, if you haven't figured it out. So, me mentioning it and showing everything to you. I want to we want to talk about, because we both really grew up with Ghostwriter. This came out in 1992. Like I said, I think it went through 95.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah, like a couple of long seasons and then a really short season at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But several mysteries, and they're all multi-parts, mostly 4 parts, except for like 2. They're like 5. Yeah, and it was a really effective show to get kids from all walks of life into reading and writing in various forms, not just novels or short stories or poems. It was also in learning detective codes and learning how to, move through the internet, because that was kind of new for everybody around that time, Everybody knows the Julia Stiles episode. Everybody knows that episode. Everybody mentions that episode.
Oh yeah. Her first acting credit ever, I believe, is true.
Wow. Yeah. That's right. That's true. I mean, she made an impression because she was wacky.
Yes.
To say the least.
One of my favorite designs in my store is based on her rant to Tina. So that's a good one.
What was it? Can you jam with the council?
Can you jam with the council? Cowboys in cyberspace.
Can you jam with the console cowboys in cyberspace? What?
Exactly.
It's a tongue twister. I can't help it. But yeah, we learned all about that. There's a lot of things. I learned about keeping logs, which you noted on a few minutes ago when I was taking the time that we were about to start. From Tina, because Tina was the boss, man.
Yes.
It was great. She was probably the most mature, early on.
I would think so. Yeah. I just finished watching the Mr. Brinker special on your channel, and you guys pointed that out, how together she was. She really was the one that brought that whole mystery together.
I know. She met Ghostwriter, and she's like, "All right, I got this. We're good."
They kind of didn't even need Ghostwriter. Seriously, there's well, do we even need Ghostwriter for this one? I don't know.
I mean, Tina was like, "This is why This is why he chose me, because I'm the best."
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't you just skip them to come straight to me? I would have solved this.
I love what you mentioned though. How I feel like each kid had their own sort of specialty. Like Tina was the videographer, Rob was the poet. Gabby had her thesaurus, and she was big on spelling. Hector was
she was big on trivia.
Trivia. Thing. Yeah, that's true. And and then Hector was learning English as a second language. So there was that perspective. Jamal was kind of like, well, he was into science a little bit later on, but
but he was like there's a reason why Jamal was involved, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Like
for
the main
sure.
reason.
And then
But
you had
they had
Lenny,
Lenny
of
who
course.
wrote the songs.
Exactly. Yeah. Every kid brought a different aspect of the English language, which is really a cool, clever way that they wrote it.
They were kind of like the Captain Planet and the Planeteers of like writing.
I could see that for sure. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. But it was great. They had like an after school special vibe sometimes, but they also had the wacky mysteries. They had the wacky mysteries and they had like the serious ones. Like, what was it? The poison the garden with the laundry chemicals or whatever.
Yes, that was one of my favorites, to be honest. That was a good one.
That was one of the ones they had a special for. Like they had Katie Couric come and interview the cast, and then they're like, "We're going to reshow this episode." So apparently, it was a really good episode. I mean, it was a good episode.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff happened in that episode. A lot of revelations and
for sure. I think that was a really good kind of ground level Ghostwriter mystery, because it dealt with something kind of a real world problem, and they had to really band together to figure out how to solve this. And Ghostwriter is always, in the mix of figuring out stuff, but with Gabby getting sick, and then it brought the real emotional level of like, oh my gosh, what if something happens to Gabby? And there's just a lot of weight to it. I enjoyed that as a kid. It was like, wow, what is going to happen to Gabby? Oh my gosh,
Yeah, because one of the teammates was in peril. That for sure raised the stakes. It was crazy. And then you had like episodes like, what's up with Alex? And he's like got the friend who does drugs, and
for sure.
And then there's like a whole, like drug deal thing. And doesn't somebody get shot at the end of that episode?
Does he get shot? Maybe like,
I think the kid got shot.
Did he get shot or stabbed? Maybe stabbed. I remember him laying on the ground and Alex was saying, "No, it's gonna be okay." Or no, it wasn't Alex.
And
it
you
was
hear like the sirens teacher coming.
Yeah. And there was some power ballad jamming in the background. It was a good one.
Yeah. It was so dramatic. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And you had the one that was the gang stuff with Rob and his friend in the gang, and his brother was in a wheelchair because he got shot.
So good. I feel like a lot of those heavyweight sort of topics were brought because of maybe the setting, being in Brooklyn, New York, especially in the 90s. I hear it wasn't the safest of places. And Myrtle Lane or something that we always saw the kids walking down at the time had the nickname Murder Lane or something because it was so dangerous. And
let's just film here then.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, we've got Sesame Street in the same region, so let's just do it here, I guess.
Wow, you know more about the region than I do. I didn't know any of that. That's crazy.
Well, it's just stuff that I've heard. I've never actually been there, but it's always been a dream of mine to travel to Fort Greene, Brooklyn, and just walk around and see what I can recognize.
And find the bodega, and find Jamal's house, and find the middle school.
Oh my gosh, that would be the best. I think I went on Google.
I will meet you there. We will do this.
I went on Google Maps one time, and I did find French garment cleaners from the episode where Gabby got sick, because French garment cleaners was involved in the dumping of the barrels of poison. And the sign of that place was still on Google Maps, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it exists!"
I'm gonna get out that from that map they had into the comics where they had to like go on the scavenger hunt.
Yes,
and I want to do that too. I want to go to like all the places they went on the scavenger hunt.
Oh my gosh,
that was like all over New York too.
Oh yeah,
I don't think it was just Brooklyn.
No, they were
in that one.
They were all over the place. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
That's a good one.
Well, anyway, so okay, let's get into some of these questions that I have for us, and we'll further discussion will arise. Tongue tied. So basically, the first one is: when were you introduced to Ghostwriter, and like what drew you into it? What stuck and grabbed you?
That's a good question. I mean, I was a kid in the 90s, and I was actually homeschooled at the time, and so I was kind of raised by the TV a lot of times, and my parents of course liked PBS better than anything else because it's kind of the safest kid programming. And I think I just sort of stumbled on it. It was before or after Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And I immediately just fell in love with it. It was, I don't know, the aesthetic and the characters, the kids, the concept of them solving mysteries. Just when you're a little kid, it's pretty empowering to see little kids doing stuff that really matters and makes a difference in their community. So that's kind of my first exposure to it. I want to say the first mystery I saw was maybe Into the Comics. I stumbled on a little bit later. I wasn't there from the very beginning, but they would show reruns here and there, and I'd catch up. Because at the time, you don't have the internet, so if you miss an episode, or God forbid you miss episode 4, then you just don't know what happens. It's just that's.
Oh, and it really sucked if okay, well, I missed the episode this week, but I saw last week's episode because they always repeated the episode, like the new episode from last week is the first episode you see this week, and then the new episode comes on. So if you happen to miss that week, you can just watch next week and see both episodes together. If you missed that one, that sucked. Like,
seriously,
I died inside.
Seriously, I think I remember one. I don't remember what mystery it was, but I actually missed episode 4 because of like a potluck at my church or something, and I was like, I'll never know what happened. Luckily, now that I'm an adult, and all of the episodes you can watch on YouTube, so we're good. But
yeah, because I watched the original Sunday night run. That's when it came on, was Sunday night, like 5 o'clock at my time anyway. Yeah. And yeah, I was always like, we have to be home. Like, my parents were like racing home because they did not want to hear me griping about I would not stop talking. Hence why I have a podcast.
Yes.
So wait, okay, so when I first got introduced, it's really funny because it was in the weirdest place. My dad bought some land with some friends to build a duck blind on so they could shoot ducks.
Whoa.
And they had a trailer that they all stayed in when they went down there and had bunk beds and whatnot. And I was 11 years old, and so they were out doing stuff for the duck blind. I said, I'll stay here, and I ended up watching TV. And this was the only channel that came through was PBS. And I happened to I started watching on Ghost Story Part 2.
Oh, okay.
So I caught on early on. I just missed the first episode. I got the recap and whatnot, but it went by a long time before I finally saw the first episode. Yeah, it was really weird. And so I watched week to week, and then when something happened, and maybe the show, sometimes it got preempted. They were doing a local telethon.
Yeah. Exactly.
For PBS, they were like, hey, and I'm like, but they're not showing Ghostwriter this week. And so don't worry, Ghostwriter will be back next week. I'm like, no. I was so disappointed. And I would end up calling our local PBS station, and they knew me by name.
What?
Because I called every week. Are you guys gonna reshow that episode? You can't miss it. No, Dustin, don't worry. We have it, and we'll be showing it. We'll show it again. And I think we plan to show it midweek as well. I'm like, I'm all excited.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, man. I know. It was sad, actually. It's not just awesome. It's a little sad.
No,
I was a brave kid, I guess. I was 11, but still. I need to see Ghostwriter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I loved fantasy. I loved fantasy when it gave people who, didn't have much agency some power.
Right.
I think that's what it was. It was because they're kids, and they're not really looked at as anything. They're all different, and they're not the popular kids, but they're not the big misfits. They're just all different from each other.
Yeah.
But they somehow all found friendship, and they got to do something no one else could do, know, and they were good kids too. They weren't they made mistakes here and there, but they were basically really good kids, and you kind of wanted to be them. You wanted to be like them, and you definitely wanted to have a friend like Ghostwriter.
Oh, heck yeah.
So
that's for sure.
That's why I love the show.
I think I heard another story that when they were casting the kids, they intentionally hired kids that weren't really actor kids. And that really came through with the final products. And I think that really made it resonate with people like you and me. Because you weren't watching somebody who's playing it up, in their acting skills or showing off. You just saw kids that were like you, and it's interesting to watch it, through adult eyes, to see. Yeah, I mean, you can't say, wow, they were really good actors, but I think if the goal was to connect with little kids, like, we're evidence that fully worked. Because here we are talking about it, 30 years later or whatever.
Oh no, you're totally right. They went based off their personalities and probably their screen magnetism, or what do you want to call it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because they knew the kids would probably learn. They're kids.
Yeah.
Kids learn so much easier than adults do, and they'd pick up on the acting, and they did. They got better as it went on.
That's for sure. Yeah. Like, I think the Mr. Brinker episode, for example, was the pilot, basically, like the first pilot.
Yeah,
and that's why the kids are so ridiculously young, and their acting skills are just not even there, and you can really see a difference. But versus like in the stride of the series, like around, I don't know, Over a Barrel or Into the Light or one of those kind of seasons, everybody really knew what they were doing, and you could tell they were enjoying what they were doing. It just really came through the screen.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of times, sometimes those like pilots, they might be shot on such a budget that they don't have the time to rehearse as much either.
True.
So that could also be part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they had to kind of rush through it, which I think they did a great job. You know?
Oh yeah.
You could tell they were enjoying themselves.
Exactly.
Like they actually wanted to be there. You know?
Yeah.
And some of them were stronger than others, but the other ones came through toward the end. Whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
This took place in Brooklyn. It was probably aimed at more urban people, but like people like, we found it too. We loved it, and,
oh yeah, for sure. You spend time with these kids by watching it week to week, and you feel like you have some connection with that place that you've never been to. I love that.
It wasn't like the glamorous Manhattan of like Gossip Girl or something where it was like unattainable.
Yes.
Or, something you couldn't relate to. It was still city, but it didn't feel too big city because it was a local neighborhood, you know?
Right.
And that's probably what helped a lot,
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you said your first mystery was Into the Comics.
Probably.
Right?
My memory is the most kind of sparked by Over a Barrel, because that's the first time I actually recorded things on VHS, and that's the whole, like, I got to record the whole mystery, and I rewatched that like crazy, so I knew it front and back, and that's really probably one of my favorite mysteries. Probably is that one. So much happened in that one. I mean, that's where Alex and Tina had their first kiss, and
oh yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much.
That was like such an awkward kiss. It was like we're hiding, and they kind of go.
I know.
Okay, no, we're hiding.
Exactly. I mean, but for a little kids show on PBS, like that was like so exciting to see. You're like, oh my gosh, they kissed.
Oh my god, because they've been building up for so long since they first met.
Yeah, like, seriously. I love that.
It was so funny because they just kind of stopped, then they kind of. And then they tell they really didn't want to kiss.
I know.
They didn't want to kiss.
And then later on, Alex is like, "Hey, what happened back there? I'm kind of sorry about that." And she's like, "No, that's okay. I liked it." And he's like, "Oh,
yeah."
It was great.
Oh my god. Well, then later on, like Jamal likes the girl Jasmine, and he keeps having those like fantasy sequences where he's like totally 90s gear too.
Oh yeah.
A huge hat on her, and like the sunglasses on him, and he has this like chain on and bare chested, and he's like, yeah, and he's asking her out in the hallway.
It's the kind of scene that I would imagine the actor Sheldon Turnipseed would look back on and just super cringe, just like, what am I doing? Oh my gosh.
Why?
We loved it though as kids. We were like, wow, it's so cool.
Oh yeah. I liked how they had Tina's brother Twan and Lenny ended up together at one point.
Yes, that was a story arc from Attack of the Slime Monster. Yes,
but it started before that, didn't it?
I thought there was
like a flirtation going on for a while.
Was there? No, I don't know if they even met. Did they?
Because he found out she liked music, and then and then like an episode later they collaborated on something, and then
I think that whole thing was in Attack of the Slime Monster, because at the
really?
beginning,
I need to rewatch this again, man.
Attack of the Slime Monster was not my favorite. I think by then, like,
No.
it's sort
Everybody
of,
is like, oh my gosh, you bring that up online, and everybody's like, I'll never forget this. It scared me so much. I thought it was stupid. I hated that.
yeah,
I hated that storyline. I
I
hate it
felt like
because it wasn't a mystery.
once they switched out Gabby, I feel like like things sort of started falling apart. Like
Yeah.
the last 2 or 3 story arcs just kind of didn't feel like typical Ghostwriter.
Like they wanted to make it goofier,
Yeah,
just
it
like
felt
weird. They had,
more sort of not so intelligent and cool. It was more sort of, slapstick and outlandish. And which was, I mean,
yeah.
I love Ghostwriter, the whole way through, but then looking at that story arc, it's like, ah, that's kind of a shame that that's how it ended.
You can feel it ending, like
Yeah,
slowly. That's
true.
the thing. Like it just isn't the same show, but okay.
Yeah,
I was giving her a chance. It had nothing to do with her. It was the writing for her just didn't
exactly.
work out. And I mean, it was, like 4 days of the cockatoo. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was so
Yeah.
stupid. And like the weird fingernail talon things he had.
Yeah.
What was that about?
I felt
Like,
like they were trying to like do some sort of a Bond villain or something. It was like, what?
yeah. It was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, just bring Colin Ferguson back and have him be their Lex Luthor.
Yes.
Like, they got rid of him at one point.
Calvin.
Like,
Calvin was the best. I loved Calvin. Every time he showed up, like that actor played that part so well, and you just hated
oh,
his
he ate up
guts.
that screen.
He loved it, I'm sure.
He
Ah,
loved it. And he did that whole thing, like, oh, that whole storyline where he broke up the team by pretending to be Ghostwriter.
yes.
He
Oh,
figured out they had a secret messenger. He didn't know it was a ghost, but he knew they were talking to somebody.
I love that story arc. That was so good.
Yeah. I
And
think it was
then
called Get the Message.
that's the one. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And then
Because
by the end, they figured out, oh my gosh, she's been breaking us up. And they all say, like, we're sorry. And Ghostwriter was like dying because their
yes.
team spirit was gone. And literally, if you think about it. And then he
Oh,
disappears.
what
Like,
a
we got
good
to find
show.
Ghostwriter. And that's when it jumps into the Back in Time episode,
Yes. Oh,
which is just in time.
that is
I'm
such a
like,
good story. Oh my gosh.
that was a good story,
That
though.
was the
And he
first
kept like,
like actual cliffhanger. Like
mm-hmm.
you're at part 4 and then you've wrapped up the mystery and then something happens, you're like, what? Like, and then it carries through into the next mystery and it's just like, ugh, it resolves
That was
so
like at the
well.
height, I think. We were getting to the height of Ghost Rider. It was like, awesome.
Yes.
All right. And we were learning a little bit more about Ghost Rider. And we were like, oh, we
Yes.
needed more clues. They didn't give us enough clues.
Exactly. Yes.
They really didn't. They were giving us some clues, but not enough. And they should have had at least a good clue in every mystery.
That's true. In hindsight, I don't know that I ever like figured out a mystery before they solved it because I don't feel like I was observant enough to catch whatever they came up with as clues.
Well, no, their mysteries were kind of like, it was showing you how writing and reading can help. It
Yeah.
wasn't like this, like the Brinker Store episode was like the only mystery where it was in front of your face the entire time.
Right, right.
And you didn't notice it. But the other ones were like, they learned the clues as they went along.
That's true.
And you're kind of like, okay, yeah, which is fine. They do it a lot in any kind of procedural drama, you see that and they do that same thing.
Yeah.
But, the only way I can tell if I'm watching like Law and Order or anything like that, I'm like, if I recognize the actor from like in a lot of commercials and then they show up in the show, I'm like, they did it. I know exactly that. Like, I've seen that guy in too many commercials. He's an actor. He's an actor.
That's a
And
good point. Oh gosh.
they did it. But it wasn't like that with Ghost Rider. It was like it was kind of like you learn as you go, and you kind of like, all right, but you're
Yeah.
supposed to kind of learn along with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so your favorite mystery? Which one was your favorite?
Favorite. Well, like I said, I think Over a Barrel has a special place in my heart. Just because I rewatched that one maybe the most. I love how grounded it was and how well the team worked together. And then like
Mm-hmm.
when they actually caught the guy at the end, it was so satisfying. And it also it features my favorite Lenny song. Not that I mean, we haven't covered that one yet, but
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, how does it go? How does it go?
it's
Oh my
time for a
goodness!
change.
Oh
Things
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
can't
yeah.
stay the same. That was my favorite because I like the TLC type loop, vibe.
Yeah.
And then I love the fact that they showed her writing the first verse rap in Ghost Story. I love that tie-in because she's sitting down on the
That's
bench and she's like,
right.
people always talk about how the world needs to change, but not when it's your life. They
Yes.
got to rearrange. And you're just like, that's so good. And then you hear the whole fleshed out song during Over a Barrel. And it's just like, so good. I loved it.
Oh, it was great. Oh, I appreciate you quoting that, by the way. That made me happy. That a little warmth inside my heart. Yeah. Oh, so I'm gonna agree with you actually that Over a Barrel is my favorite. I think I watched that one the most
Oh,
over and
nice.
over.
Excellent.
I think I showed because I was very much like an environmentalist kid.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I had a bunch of shirts like "Save the Planet" and "Don't Litter" and recycle, reuse, recycle, that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
And I had a lot of those shirts. My mom ended up picking. I was like, why am I the activist kid? Like I was though. I was like, you should not litter. I wasn't like a big activist, but
That's great.
I think a couple times I might have tried to start a petition, and I think I was influenced by Ghostwriter. That kind of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
And that is the end of part 1 of the Ghostwriter discussion with Tim from Rally J Designs on Etsy. So come back next week, and we will have part 2 for you, where we have a lot more laughs and a lot more nostalgia. Not kidding, it gets a little ridiculous at times. So check it out. See you next week. Thanks.